Okay, we made it to the last day of the week. All you're going to need is one golf club. You might need a mat if you're on a hard floor, but this is more better golf. Flexibility, it's day 5. You might need a towel too, depending. But the golf club we're going to use here and there. I'm on a hardwood floor, so I'm going to get my mat ready. So, flexibility. Stretching is the thing that most people skip. And it's important. I mean, most everybody just keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So it's good not to skip it. Have it involved a little bit in every day. We're going to start hands and knees. We're going to arch our back around it. We're going to do a little cat-cow while my cat walks by me. Drop the head as your back rounds up to the ceiling. Lift your head as your back arches. And just really kind of get your spine moving here. You want your hands right under your shoulders, your knees right under your hips. You're going to walk your hands out a little bit further. Get your toes on the floor in a plank position. We're going to drop down, extend the spine, and then drop into a downward dog. So we're going down dog to up dog. So we're getting spinal extension, stretching the hip flexors, stretching the shoulders, the lats. Depending how tight, you might get your hamstrings stretched. You can stretch your calves. Just going to go back and forth. So we're warming up to then stretch more. So this is just kind of getting everything prepped. Since this may be the day you look forward to the least for some people, other people might just love it. But we definitely are limited by certain areas being tight or inflexible with golf. So we got to work on those. All right, so next we're going to go back to that hands and knees position. And we're going to kind of walk our hands so our fingers are pointed sideways and just rock side to side. So this is going to stretch our wrists. Another problem area for some golfers. A lot of stress through the wrists. And by rocking side to side, we're just stretching a little bit of that flexion and extension. And we're going to put our hands, so we're on the back of our hands. And now we're going to put most of our weight on our legs and just gently rock onto our hands to stretch into wrist flexion, keeping the elbows straight. You don't want a lot of pressure. We're not trying to get as much pressure if our palms were down. I just want to help with that flexibility there. Now we're going to reach through and thread the needle. Hips drop back towards the heels. Reach as far as you can. Elbow can bend on that other side. Trying to rotate through our thoracic spine. Because we're going to do some other rotation stretches for sure. And you can pause a little longer if it feels good. Well, again, this is the warm-up for other stretches that we're going to hold a little bit longer. So this should be a pretty kind of low heart rate, low intensity workout. Okay, get up from here. Let's get to it. So we're just going to break this workout into 2 groups, front 9 and a back 9. We're not going to have a first set and second set. Just kind of plan out your space for each of these. You may have to adjust depending on where you are. So we're going to start on our stomach. We're going to get ourselves in a little goalpost position, so our elbows are bent 90 degrees, and we're going to turn our head one direction. And that side, we're going to bend our knee and rotate it over. This gets called a scorpion stretch. Once we get there, we're just going to kind of hang out. Now, you could hang out for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, up to 30 seconds if it feels good. But we're trying to stretch through that rotation component, initiating for the lower half of our body. We're getting some stretch through our neck, our cervical spine, just by turning it to one side first. We definitely need rotation through our neck when we're swinging a golf club. So now I'm going to get the other side, so I'm going to reposition my mat so I don't kick my wall, turn the head, and then swivel over to the other side. Again, as you find areas that are tighter on you, you can definitely work on them a little bit more. And it may not just be one part right and left, it may be right side more than left or vice versa. We're going to get some stretch through the front of the shoulder, through the chest muscles. This should just feel like a good stretch. Make sure you keep breathing slowly in and out. Each time you breathe out, you should feel like maybe you can kind of melt a little further into that stretch. All right, so we got our scorpion taken care of there. We're going to start on our knees. We're going to get one leg kicked up straight. So it's kind of like we're starting on that hands and knees, except for one leg is straight out to the side. And we're going to rock back, almost like we're going into child's pose. We can kind of sink into the hip of the leg that's out straight. So we're trying to stretch the inner thigh on that straight leg side. Now, depending on how it feels on your knee on the leg that's bent side, you can change your position, kind of shift more over the top of that knee, less, because it's going to vary how it feels depending on the quality of your knee joints. Definitely having padding underneath there is crucial. Another way you can do this if you don't like being on your knees is you can just come up to this position. This is a good modification. We're still getting inner thigh. We're still kind of leaning back into it. But maybe you don't like being on your knees, or maybe you just can't be on your knees. You know, golf is a sport that we can play for the vast majority of our life. And there are times where we get to where our knees don't feel so fantastic to get down on the floor, on the ground. So we can still stretch them like this. So this is a great modification for a lot of people that are tight through that inner thigh area. Now we're just going to stretch our hamstrings. So knees should be straight, hinging forward, straight spine from our shoulders all the way down. And then we're going to bend our knees after a bit, just kind of pump them and come back up. So again, you could hold this for 10 seconds or longer. But then every time you do a little pump, come back up. I'm trying to go just a little further, get a little more stretch out of it. So as you go along with this, you should feel like you're kind of limbering up everything. All right, so we're going to take one big step, drop the knees to the floor, then we're going to rotate towards that front leg. This is the old classic world's greatest stretch. We're getting hip flexor stretch on the back leg, we're getting hip stretch through the joint on the front leg, rotation through a thoracic spine. Depending on if your leg is straight without the knee touching in the back, you may get some calf stretch. You get a lot of things, so we're trying to hold that position. And you're trying to get as close to a nice vertical line of your arms from floor to ceiling. On one side, most likely is going to be tighter. Absolutely. So we get down into that kind of runner's lunge position and then rotate. Deep breaths in and out. If you feel like that front leg with the bent knee is trying to really push to the outside because you're tight, you can not rotate quite as much and try to kind of keep that from pivoting to the outside. But it's just another indicator that things are tight through those areas. And I'm definitely tight multiple areas. That's why stretching is good stuff. Okay, we're still going to swing our golf club in this workout. So This is one of those components that is good to have consistently here. We're trying to build this repetitions of swinging a golf club. Working on flexibility should make it easier and easier so you don't get stuck through part of a swing. You don't feel like you can't get into your backswing all the way, you can't get through a good follow through. Again, check your space, make sure you're not going to smack any walls or anything else. First few swings can be kind of slower speed, 3/4 plus or minus, even not as big of a backswing if you want. Work on those swings. Find those checkpoints you need to kind of go through in order to make them good quality. You can even do what I did here, which is I've got my mat set up to use it as a little bit of a alignment guide. Get my toes up to the edge of the mat, and then try to swing down the line of the mat. So I'm working on a good, nice alignment. That way I'm not swinging in to out or out to in. I want to be able to pick a target and know where the ball is going to go. So if one of the things you know you need to work on is your alignment, it's one of the ways you can do it. You can use the mat, you can use a towel, just something that's got some straight lines on it. Easy to move in and out of the way. We're going to get our 18 swings before we get into the back nine of the second set of exercises to stretch today. Can work on your visualization too. Thinking about a course you've played, a hole you've played, target you can pick out in mind, maybe that's in front of you wherever you're doing this workout. Make it work for you. And 18 swings, feels like a lot. If you happen to not get through that many, that's totally fine too. Just work on enough to start building up enough reps of swinging a club to make it better when you actually get out there and hit a ball. Okay, let's hit the back nine. Let's get this second group of stretches going. So we're going to roll over on our back. We're going to bring this golf club with us for this one, and we're going to work a little bit on our lats. So knees can be bent, and push your back flat to the floor. Reach overhead like you're trying to get your knuckles to touch the floor, but you don't want your back to arch. So if you feel at some point your lower back wants to arch off the floor, just don't keep pushing. See if we can get that overhead motion more and more flexible. And again, you can hold it longer up there too and kind of work on your breathing in that overhead position if you want. Now this is a really common exercise people do with weight, lat pullover. And this could be something that eventually, with a lighter weight, not a heavy weight to work on strengthening, but just a lighter weight to work on stretching, you can do that as well. Golf club's enough for now, gives you something to hold on to with both hands. Definitely focus on that lumbar spine, staying pressed against the surface you're lying on. Works on that core stability too. So we're working on stretching, but there's all the other stuff that's involved as well. You don't work on those things in isolation. So now we're going to get on our side. We're going to have our hips bent 90 degrees and our knees 90 degrees. Hands together, and then we're going to reach over and rotate. So this is the open book stretch. So we're still working on rotation. If you feel like you don't have enough space, like I got a wall in the way, you can bend your elbow and still get some good rotation if you feel like it's stopping you. But you can pause, breathe 2, 3 times in and out. Every time you breathe out, feel like you just go a little further. As you come back across from that rotated position, you're trying to slide your top hand as far out across your bottom hand as you can too. So we'll get the other side. Again, hips about 90 degrees, knees about 90 degrees. Reach over and across, really open everything up. And that top leg may want to kind of pop off the bottom one. That tells you got tightness through your hips. And if you feel like you want to stabilize that a little bit more, okay, grab it with your hand, just kind of anchor it down. That'll give you a little more stretch through that outer hip area, through your glutes. It all feeds down into the lateral aspect of your thigh, which attaches to your knee, and so on and so forth. So, it's all connected. So if you can get stuff to start getting more flexible in the tightest areas, then you can get more flexible everywhere. Okay. We open the book on both sides. We can move on to the next piece of the puzzle. Alright, so we're back on our hands and knees. We're going to go into our downward dog position. Trying to make a nice V. Our butt's really high in the air. Straight line, and then we're going to come up, drop down into that runner's lunge position. Really trying to drive the hips towards the floor. You can drop that back knee. I'm going to go back into that downward dog. Stretch through the lats. Stretch through the back. Bring the other leg up as far as you can. If you feel like you're not quite there, you can kind of adjust it with your hand. Sometimes this will get called like a Spider-Man stretch. I think it's a good deep runner's lunge stretch. Really, it's just stretching your hips. We can stretch our back. If you feel like your feet are slipping, you can position and readjust. But we're just going to pause a little bit longer. Most of our warm-ups and cool-downs for all the other workouts, we're spending a few seconds, maybe 5 at the most, in each position. Maybe more dynamic. This is more the static hold. Those static holds are how we're going to change some length, actually get things to be more flexible, but we got to have consistency too. That doesn't happen by doing this once. Stretching once will not make you more flexible for the long term. You got to do it consistently. You don't have gymnasts or dancers that are super flexible because they stretch one time a week. You got to have it built into your routine. And then find a way to get it in a few other times during the day too. Whether it's before bed, after work, after lunch, whatever it is. There's lots of different options to be able to make it happen. So as you start to feel like you can sink a little bit further, get a little bit lower, closer to the floor. But it should feel kind of good. Stretching is usually hard to get most people to start doing, but once they do it, they're like, oh, that does feel better. So it's a hard sell at first, but there's a big payoff for it. Take the time. Help your body move better. Okay. Good job with that one. It's a good kind of back and forth position to work on those tight areas here. Okay. Now we're going to slide out into a child's pose. So butt to heels, arms as far overhead as you can, and then we're going to reach over to one side and we're going to stretch more down one side of our body. You can adjust as far as you want. Get your butt closer to your heels. And we're going to reach underneath and do that, thread the needle. And we're really going to try to twist with this. How far can we go underneath there with that other arm straight overhead now? So that overhead arm, we're going to stretch down our side. We're going to get our lats again. And we're switching at the other side. Kind of reach across the body. Kind of lean into it, almost like you're trying to push the side of your body that you're reaching away from you, and kind of curve it out. And then when you go through this way, you're going to reach lower with that through arm. Down towards your legs versus across. That upper arm, you just want to keep anchored and really try to stretch. Make little micro adjustments that fit where you need to work on things the most. Don't feel like you got to make it the same for you as it is for somebody else. Find those tight points and kind of lean into them. Now, none of this should be a hurt feeling. It should all be just stretch. If you run into something that just hurts, you don't push through that. That's a no-go situation there. That's your nervous system telling you something's not quite right. Let's be real careful. Let's back off a little bit. And maybe you just need to go a little lighter, not as much intensity, not as much force. But definitely don't push through painful areas. Our nervous system is a pretty well designed part of our human anatomy. We can make adjustments according to the feedback we get there. By the time you get to the end of these, you should start feeling like I can go a little further. I can kind of twist a little bit further. I feel like I'm a little bit more flexible. And if you want to do less repetitions here, and you just want to hang out in a stretch hold position, do it. You can even turn your head to the other side if you feel like it gives you a better stretch for your neck, your scapular area, your thoracic spine. It's all good. Okay. So much more flexible now. Okay, we got round 2 of swinging a golf club. So by now, this should seem very familiar. Get a club, find a space, check your surroundings, make sure you're not going to run into anything. No damage to wherever you're working out. If you happen to be lucky enough to be working out outside, so much easier. We get 18 swings to go. 1. Should take a little while. 2. And we're not trying to get 18 swings in like 30 seconds or anything. 3. You want to make them quality. 4. You're not going to get quality out of it if you just swing back and forth. Now, if you're just going for speed to warm up, 5. That's okay. It's just a warm up, just like any other warm up. 6. But the purpose of this is we're going to take the time. 7. To make sure these are swings that are going to help our golf game improve. 8. 9. So you could get through this workout a little faster if you did less swings, that's for sure. 10. But I wouldn't take the swings out. It's an integral component. I mean, it's one of the things, 11, that most people just don't get enough reps of swinging a golf club by the time they go play again. 12. It's a whole new experience. Takes a few holes to kind of get back into it. 13. 14. So make this a priority. 15. Feel like swinging a golf club gets easier and easier every time you do a workout. 16. Because if you do these 5 workouts, you get 36 swings each workout. Okay? That's a lot of swings. That's 180 swings just over the course of 5 workouts. It's good stuff. All right. So since we spent this whole workout stretching, our cool down, we're going to work on breathing. So comfy position. It could be sitting. It could be lying down. Find a place that's comfy for you. I'm just going to lie on my back, legs out straight, just let everything kind of relax. Close the eyes and just breathe. This is a time to just spend a minute, 2 minutes, just focusing on your breathing, your inhale, your exhale. As you inhale, feel your abdomen rise a little bit. As you exhale, feel it lower. If it feels good to have a little more feedback, you can put one hand on your abdomen, one hand on your chest, and kind of feel the difference between the two as you breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Nice and slow. Should feel like it helps just kind of calm the whole body, nervous system, and everything else. Very important. Feel free to do more of this. It's a good thing to do, but thanks for joining me for all these workouts. You made it through the week. As week 1, look forward to seeing you for week 2. We'll take things up a notch. Good job.